Welcome. Adega Outlaw! Stone Cold Loki! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Seven Kinds of Mischief! God, I love doing that.
Still get goosebumps.
Greetings, everyone. Good evening. How are you tonight? Welcome to Seven Kinds of Mischief. Oh my God, we got like a whole row of sponsors: Darth Plato, Darth Arlena, Archer Colin, Chris Persia, Heiress of Chaos. Wow, those must be auto renewals that are like, "Hey, we're here."
Oh yeah.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Lady Mist. Our Guardian of the Void is here. Good evening, Lady Mist. Akimi. She was first. She was the first one in the door. Monkey Jeebus, good evening. Claude Saline, how you doing? Akimi Maru, hey, how are you doing? Good evening, Akimi Maru. DJ Ronnie G's in the house tonight. Good evening, DJ. How are you doing? Lady Mist is getting scared, and oh my God. And Mark the Emily Tired, good evening, brother. Psycho Dwarf 9, how are you doing? Good to see you as always, my friend. Good to see you. Daryl the Derelict, greetings program. Good evening, brother. How are you doing? Speaker for the Dead is here. Hopefully we'll get to see him tomorrow morning. Good
long dispersion.
Good evening, Speaker. It is good to see you, Brian. Good to see you, brother. Good evening to everybody. Hope everyone's having a great one. Coach is here. Good evening, hey, Coach. Coach from Jedi Archives is here. Good evening, my friend. Good evening. So good to see everybody.
You know, I never got to talk with those guys one-on-one. Well, one of these years.
Echo Base?
Yeah. They always have those walk-ins and stuff or drop-ins. I never did it.
Call-ins?
Yeah, whatever it is. I don't know. I've been there a few times, but... No, I just like listening to the group. They got a good group. I love listening to everybody over there. Got to meet a lot of cool people from them.
Heck yeah. That ICC con was nuts. It was absolutely great. Had a great time hanging out with them.
Awesome.
Wish you could have been there. I know.
Yeah.
Don't say it, Loki.
You know what? You have full permission to say whatever you think is appropriate. You already know that. Except for the one thing I told you never to tell anybody.
That's right. Secret safe. Secret safe with me.
They still haven't found the body. Wait.
That's right. DJ Ronnie G, I love pop-ins as well. Absolutely. The kings of pop-ins over on Echo Base Network.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
What do we have planned for tonight? Did you see, just before we get to everything though, did you see the trailer for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power?
I watched it when Lady Gravemaster did her stream with it. And, you know, we really didn't need her to stream it to realize how less than mediocre it is. I will give props to some of the people in the background, but their money is really poorly spent. This is like going out for ice cream and someone gives you grass. You're just not getting what you want. It
What did
was
you think about the
horrible.
line? What did you think about the line? The past is dead. Join us or die with it. I was just like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
that sounds familiar.
Right. Not, yeah. Yeah. And it not only does it not go with the whole lore, because, well, you know this better than I do, but with the Lord of the Rings, the whole thing is about history building up.
Yes.
They remember all these things. They do things based on stuff that happened thousands of years ago. And to destroy that past, one, is a sign of ignorance of what the story is all about. And two, it is one of their writers or group of writers in your face saying, we don't care what you liked before. This is what you're going to get. Well, what they're not going to get from us is a red, shiny penny.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
That's right.
Terrible
Dega's
people.
got the right idea. Dega's got the right idea. So what are we doing tonight? What are we talking about tonight?
Last week, I was planning on doing something and I switched to go through the guide stones. Well, I want to cover, I want to cover a little bit of what I was going to do last week. There is a lot of history involved in this, and this ties in with a lot of the dark stuff that I've talked before. It's not as dark, but it is a key part of some of these things that people do. So, history. This goes back as far as the 2nd century. There were traditions, and again, I never get into any religion's bad sides or good sides. That's up for you to determine. But I am a Christian, of course. However, back at the 2nd century, this is even before the creeds. This is when some of the leadership of the early Christian church kept excommunicating each other. The Jews, the rabbis, were getting kind of consensus on some of their writings. You know, they do this periodically every 300 or 400 years when they lose stuff and want to rewrite stuff or what have you. It happens everywhere, even in regular history. It's happening in our day. But one of the things about King Solomon's temple was a line about unhewn stone being used for it. And the rabbis were confused at what they were trying to read. And they couldn't figure out how the Temple of Solomon could have been built without unhewn stone, and the stones are there. So they came up with this idea. Where it originated, how it originated, why, we don't know. It just, they started writing about Solomon summoning demons to do the work for him. So the people didn't do that. There's a large mythos about him meeting with certain people, summoning lesser demons, torturing them to find out who the main demon was that would be able to do this for them. There's mythos that get into him having rings. It's stuff that you've heard before. But over the centuries, there was things added to it, other stories, myths, things about these summoned demons. And in the 17th century, and I forget the gentleman's name. Sorry, you guys know I'm pretty bad with names. I'm doing this one from memory. I'm not reading anything. In the 17th century, there was a guy who compiled this stuff into 2 different works. And some of you will know these works. Some of you may not. It may be news to you. One is called The Greater Key of Solomon. And it's a Theotia is how I think it's Theotia, meaning it is written to deal with things of divine, higher planes of existence, things making you approach God as best you can, ways to become enlightened with celestial or perfected things. The other one is called the Goetia, or Goetia, Goetia, or the Lesser Keys of Solomon. This one deals with earthly things, mundane things, how to acquire goods, how to sharpen your mind, and how to summon demons to do it. In it, the first part of the book, summoning of 72 different demons. It never got published. People knew it was around until someone by the name of Crowley, who you might know, got a hold of it, started publishing it. It has become one of the key grimoires for dark magics, Satanism, various other things. I gave Loki a couple of pictures, only 2 pictures this time. But one of them is, you can see a version of the book cover. Not that one just yet. This, the Goetia, Lesser Key of Solomon. You could see the symbols on it. You could see the chat rolling along. There are myths behind this book saying that it causes pain, some deaths, various things. But like I said, you could see who got this thing into publication, Aleister Crowley. And it is used world around now. Go ahead and switch to the other one. You notice the symbols on the front. This one is quite complicated. It will take you time to study. But those symbols, they're supposed to represent the 72 different summoning circles for each individual demon. Each one has its own name. Each one has its own purpose. However, if you look out at a lot of the artistry on clotheslines, new from Celine Dion, a lot of the Abercrombie and Fitch, however you say that, you can look at their clotheslines and you will find different odd, weird symbols, curved lines, different things, and they're all taken from this. Even to the point where in the Abercrombie, one of the shirts would say, summon something. And I can't remember which demon depiction they had on it, which there is. But you can go to places in advertising, in malls, various different logos for businesses, and you will see these symbols sometimes simplified, sometimes hidden. But this tells you out in the open, in front of your face, who these people are. So when you look at some cool art, cool designs, innocent enough if you don't think about it. But if you know what you're looking for, you can see what their intent is. I had a discussion with my wife on this. There is a thing called the Acacian Library. Some people believe it and some people don't. Those of you who are into more metaphysical meditation, remote viewing, those type of things, understand this as being all the information that ever was, ever is, and ever will be is contained in this library, basically out there. And if you can attune your mind to it, sorry about all the noise in the background. If you can attune your mind to it, you can pick up. I don't know about edgelords. Well, I'd have to look into that. But if you tune your mind into the Acacian records, yes, you're able to pick out bits and pieces of information throughout time, throughout whenever. Some people seem to be pretty good at it. Some of these remote viewers are pretty good at it. Not all of them, but some of them. And the idea is that maybe these things meant one thing. Other people are picking up the same vibe from that, right? That Acacian record, and are coming up with similar symbols, but are completely innocuous. They don't mean anything at all. So it's tough sometimes to look at things and think, oh yeah, this is bad and this is good, when they had no intention of it ever being in bad. It was just someone's idea that came to their head. Like you can look down on the bottom row, you go to the fifth one over, you'll see the Templar cross inside the one. And the Templars were not Satan worshipers at all. but you could see upside down crosses all over the place. But when you go and you see a shirt, like I said, from Abercrombie, and it says summon something, or you can look at the blood in Nike shoes with the swirled lines, those you can say with about a 90-degree positivity, there's someone in the development of those products, those advertisements, that know exactly what they're doing, and they're sticking it in your face. Just something to be aware of. It's not necessarily anything you want to study, because you start studying stuff like this, if you're not careful, it can lead you into dark places that you don't want to go to. And some people never get out of. Just a heads up. That's one of about 3 or 4 books I think I'm going to be covering. I'll get back with you, because you guys know I get into this ancient stuff, and sometimes these ancient grimoires, some of them are good, some of them are weird, and some of them are flat out evil, kind of like this one. The first part is, anyway. The last part, people could think it's more of a humanistic type thing. It may deny the existence of God, gods, a God, your God, however you want to look at it, and has people trying to achieve things for themselves. It's always a good thing for people to strive for better and do more, but the mode that you take, the road that you travel on, that's where you got to be careful. I was just trying to read what Psycho said. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, he said, with them you are, or can be adding energy to someone else's spell.
Yeah, I don't get into the spell stuff. There's some places I won't. I'll dance around the outside, but I won't go in. Spell stuff, black magics, those things, I won't go in. I told you guys once before, the closest I got one time was someone who was fairly proficient and also used a Ouija board, and the thing wouldn't work around me, and it frustrated him and his family to no end, and I left, and then it was just fine. But that's, like I said, that's as close as I got. I don't like to be around it. I don't like to study it. Like I said, I'll skirt on the outside. This is as close as I'm going to get to getting into that book. But yeah, you're better off for your own sake. There are a myriad of stories out there, and I'm sure you each know at least one person who has had brushes with these type of things and left scarred to one degree or another, and I choose not to do that. So, did you have any questions, Loki?
No, pretty much. Most of that stuff I have heard of. The so there's stuff from the Vatican, and whether people believe this or not, you can look it up or not if you want to. There are kits people used to buy, and one of the things in these kits was the symbols you showed for these summoning things. It was almost like a binding where it was inverted and reversed.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be they played that up in the show Supernatural, where they could like catch a demon in a binding spell that they put on the floor or whatever. The Vatican Church actually had these inversion drawings that you would put to protect people. It's really weird. You'd get a kit. They'd have like a stake and silver and holy water, garlic, a pistol that shot silver bullets. You can look those up for yourself.
Yeah, I think you showed us one of those a couple years ago.
Yep, they're like demon hunting kits that the Vatican sold. These was, of course, hundreds of years ago. But they would have binding rituals that would bind evil spirits. And that way they could remove them. Really odd stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing I understand is that the symbols are just for you to focus your mind onto something. They have no power in and of themselves. So And this is where I think a mistake is made oftentimes, where people will use symbols thinking they have power. It's not the symbol that has power. It's the intent. It's the energy, and sometimes it's the deity.
Yeah. Dave Bob says he believes in demons, not ghosts. I have 3 stories for you guys tonight.
All right.
This should be interesting. They're each short stories. The last one's a little longer, but so the first one is called The Scammers Live Stream. These are all written by R.M. Staniforth, our good friend R.M. Staniforth. So we'll start with The Scammers Live Stream and then move on to our next story. After the green light started blinking, I ripped the duct tape off the mouth of the man who I had chained to his office chair. "We're live," I told him. Finally, it was the moment I had been dreaming of for the last 5 years of my life. The squirming maggot in front of me was a successful scammer who preyed on the feeble minds of the elderly middle class. 5 years ago to that day, my sickly mother had died of cardiac arrest after realizing that this scammer had sucked up every last cent of her life savings, draining hundreds of thousands of dollars from her. Now I share some blame, of course, for having not intervened in my mother's finances when she first became ill. But regardless, tonight I would set things right. After my mother's death, I promised revenge. I committed my entire life to finding this one man. I went back to school to learn computer science and worked tirelessly on developing the skills that I would need. I saved my money for years and used it to purchase a new identification via the dark web, just so I could make this trip. The last 5 years built up to tonight's live stream. The live stream invite went out to every person that he had scammed from his Ocean View office in a lavish house. The live stream was also sent to other scammers and even broadcast on social media and the dark web. "Why don't you tell our audience what you do?" I said. I don't know what you're talking about," the man cried. I pushed the button in my hand, sending 30 seconds of painful electrical currents through his body. I laughed as the scammer screamed in agony. "No more lies," I said. "Now tell us about the scams." Okay, the pathetic scammer said. "I scam people for a living. I have bills to pay too, okay?" "By the looks of your Ferrari, it seems you're doing a lot better than just paying the bills." Shocking him when necessary, I forced the scammer to confess in simplistic detail his crimes. "I'm sorry," cried the scammer. "I'll give it back. I'll give it all back. Just please don't kill me." "Oh, I won't be killing you. Say, you use your computer to scam people, right?" I asked as he nodded. "Well, you can't use your computer without your hands, can you?" The scammer cried and screamed as I cut both of his hands off using an electronic chainsaw in front of our 13,500 viewers. I then reached into his mouth with my pliers, pulling on his tongue. "Can't use a phone without your tongue, can you?" I exclaimed before cutting his tongue off with a kitchen knife. Blood poured from his mouth and arm stubs as I prepared the finale. I put the branding iron to his forehead, forever branding the word scammer into his head. Despite his blood-curdling screams, as I said, "I'm not going to kill you. That'd be too kind." Thus ended the tale of the scammer's live stream.
Talk about Old Testament. Whew.
Oh, and these are short, guys. I know they're short, but they're brutal. I liked I liked these while I was reading. Okay, so the next story is called 747 Souls in a Jar. It's a weird sentiment collection. The idea of purchasing things just to have them, simply to say you own it. The only value of a collectible object derives from one's desire to own it. Perhaps it is a passion that drives the need, or perhaps its passion's a strange cousin, obsession. Some collect spoons, nutcrackers, shot glasses, coins, stamps, art, even cars. I myself am not immune to the selfish desire to have, to collect. But I have a rare collection only a handful in history have managed. I collect people's souls. I love to watch them, the souls, as they swirl around in their jar. The small balls of light swim through the air in their tiny enclosures, radiating a reverent purple hue. They have no practical purpose, but trapping them rewards me with the power of knowing the person to whom that soul belonged to will forever remain in my grasp. They will not move on after death. Their consciousness will be trapped in my little jar. I store the souls 9 in a jar. An enchanted one, of course. Any more than that, and they become crowded. I have filled 83 jars in my time. It's easier than you think convincing one to part with their soul. All it takes is a little bit of greed. Many a man or woman has found me, wrought with so much desire that they readily trade their most valuable possession. Oftentimes, it's the devoted love from a certain person they desire. That one is easy. I'll hand over a sealed card, a cursed card. The person who reads it will be enslaved to love you for the remainder of their life. Good luck getting away from them should you choose to change your mind. Just cut your hand, sign this curse with your blood. Her love is yours, and your soul is mine. Some come to me with a lustful desire for fame, for fortune. That one's not as easy, but I can give you the looks, talent, and supernatural charisma that will guarantee you Hollywood fame. Just cut your hand, sign this curse. Fame and fortune are yours, and your soul is mine. Many come to me asking for more time with a loved one that has died. I'll give you 48 hours. Just don't lather the body in this cursed ointment, and they will rise. Be aware, though, that even I cannot reverse decomposition. Just cut your hand, sign this curse, and you'll meet your fiancé again. Your soul is mine. The smarter ones are repeat customers, as they offer somebody else's soul. That's fine, so long as you can convince them to cut their hand and sign the curse with their blood. You'll get what you desire, and their soul is mine. So, tell me, my friend, what do you desire most? What would you give? Just cut your hand, sign this curse, and it will be yours. 747 Souls in a Jar by R.M. Stanforth.
All right. Here's a question for you.
Okay.
Because I know the type of person you are, and you already know that my answer would be, would that be something where you sat down and you actually were going to make a deal? But the deal would be, you could have my soul if you let all the other ones go.
It's a good question.
So a thought to think on. Anyway, I'll let you continue.
Thank you, brother. Oh, shit. I don't don't think I'd do that. I don't know. It's like, would someone do that for me? I don't know. Would anyone out there do that for me? So this is our last story for the night by R.M. Stanforth. And it's called Here's a Little Spook for You. Be careful before making horrible wishes. If you're anything like me, they will always come true. Have you ever silently wished something terrible or made a dark wish that harm would fall on someone? Be honest now. There's no point in lying to yourself. When I say, be careful of what you wish for, because it just might come true, I mean it. Because for me, my most horrible wish always comes true. I can't say for sure when it started, but I can tell you the first time that I know my horrible wish came true, the first time that I allowed a horrible thought to spend a few seconds in the front of my cluttered mind. If only I hadn't made such a horrible wish, my life would be dramatically different. I was in high school when it happened. My father had been distant for years and seemed to not give a shit about anything. It seemed that the only time he would speak to me, he was lecturing or even yelling at me for being too loud, wearing too much black, listening to heavy metal, or being 3 minutes late for curfew. One day, after a particularly long lecture about spending too much time with my girlfriend, I thought to myself, I wish he would just kill himself since he's so fucking miserable. The very next day, when I came home, I entered through the garage, saw my father's car inside. It was a Tuesday, so he should have been at work. I entered the house, went to his room. He wasn't there. I walked downstairs of our split entry home and headed to the basement. As I walked through the hallway, I noticed a trail of blood trickling through the grout lines of the hallway tile. The trail was coming from underneath the bathroom door. I panicked and thought my dad must have had an accident. I hurried to the door, swung it open, expecting to see my father trying to clean his serious cut. This wouldn't have been the first time he cut himself while woodworking. As I opened the door, what I saw was far, far worse. I found my dad sitting in the corner, and at his feet lay a gun. I could see the remnants of his head, brain scattered throughout his now open cranium. The wall immediately behind him had a thick spatter of blood, protruding lines of blood splattered towards the ceiling as if he were a water balloon. Since he had shot himself just under the chin, all the blood from his carotid artery had poured down the front side, creating the stream that had found underneath the crack in the door. You don't understand how fickle the human body is until you see it scattered around like that. I felt guilty, very guilty, about wishing that my dad had killed himself. Felt like I should have seen the signs of depression, not wished him an ultimate untimely demise. I never felt like I had caused it, though. It wasn't until much later that I realized it had happened, because I had fucking wished for it. I started getting suspicious the second time my horrible wish came true. This was in my senior year, and I was still dealing with some of the shit after my father's death. While I wasn't heavily bullied, there was one kid that has a special vendetta to insult me around every corner. And one day, he decided to tell me that my father had killed himself because I was so ugly. It was a stupid insult, I know that. But on that day, I lost my shit. I punched him in the mouth. As I was distracted by the immediate pain that seared through my hand and knuckles, he hit me back with a huge haymaker right in my nose, knocking me to the ground in front of every student in the cafeteria. He stood over me and continued to hit me repeatedly, while all I could do was keep my arms over my face. As I waited in the principal's office, holding a towel to my broken nose, I thought to myself, I wish he could never talk again. As he was leaving school, he tripped down concrete stairs. A crack sounded as he landed directly on his chin. The kid started to make pancaked gurgle noises as he struggled to his feet. His mom screamed as he stood up to show the blood that was pouring heavily from his mouth. His eyes were wide as can be, as all looked down to see his tongue lying on the ground. He had bitten his tongue clean off. Needless to say, he was never able to speak again. This is when I began to get suspicious that my thoughts were more than just thoughts. I felt as if my wish had caused the incident. That was the second time I had wished harm on someone, and it actually happened. I told myself that I was crazy. If this happened to you, would you believe it? I finally convinced myself that I was being far too superstitious and that there was no way that I could make these things happen with my thoughts. Until the third time. I was driving down the interstate when another car flew past me at a ridiculous speed and cut me off. I had to slam on my brakes, my old beat-up Honda Civic, causing me to lose control. I regained control of my car, but lost control of my temper. This time I said it out loud. I hope that son of a bitch crashes. Immediately after, the car's front tire blew. The vehicle lost control and turned sharply in the direction of the blown tire. With a loud screech of tires trying to stop, the car went bumper first into the cement barrier at 70 miles an hour. The impact was so hard that the front wheels left the ground as it started to turn over. The car continued to roll several times before finally coming to a stop a few hundred feet after the original collision. I stopped my car and ran toward the heap of metal that was once a car. The driver was unconscious but seemed to be stirring and alive. However, there was a woman in the car who had apparently not been wearing her seatbelt. Although she lay belly down, her head was twisted backward, with her spine protruding from her neck. Her eyes were open, and those dead, empty blue eyes stared at me, as if she knew that I had done this to her. As it turns out, the man was taking his pregnant wife to the hospital. She was in the back seat of the car because she was in labor. The husband survived, but the mother and the baby didn't. That's when I knew it. I had made it happen. With my horrible fucking wish, I had made it happen. I had lost my temper and killed that woman and her baby. I still feel like a murderer. I even considered turning myself in the hope that justice would serve me. But who the fuck's gonna believe that I did that with my thoughts? I thought maybe I could make things right by wishing wonderful, good things to happen. A family friend had been fighting cancer for over a year and had just been determined as terminal. I wished every day that they would recover, that the cancer would subside. I wished as often as a priest prays. They died 2 months later. I wished every day that my mother could find happiness after her husband's death. But positive wishes don't come true. My mother fell further into depression and substance abuse every day until she overdosed on opiates. You see, only my horrible wishes are granted. Like the time my girlfriend cheated on me, so I wished that she would disappear. The next day, she was gone. Like she vanished into thin air. That was a year ago. And no one has seen her since. It's a cold case now. Over the years, I've developed drinking and anger problems. More than once have wished awful things in the heat of a drunken moment. Much like the bartender who cut me off. So now his left hand is cut off. Far too many innocent people have been hurt and killed because of my reckless thoughts. Like the now paralyzed man that lives in the apartment above me when my drunk ass wished that he wouldn't make noise anymore. The stories are only a fraction of the people that I've hurt. I know that every time I get drunk, there's a good chance that I will wish something awful, some sort of harm to someone that doesn't deserve it. But I just can't put down my fucking bottle. So today, I give my last wish. I wish that tonight brings me the horrible fucking death that I deserve. And that is, here's a little spook for you. Be careful before making horrible wishes. If you're anything like me, it will always come true. By R.M. Staniforth.
I don't know which is better, his stories or the way you read them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, brother. And I hope you guys have enjoyed tonight. I hope you guys have had a fun time. Dave Bob got it right there. He needs to wish he was dead. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. Memes, what's up? Yeah, memes, that's fucking terrible. Oh, shit. Good evening, memes. How are you doing? Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Memes is always fashionably, well, considering he runs with his shirt off half the time. Maybe not fashionably, but he's always late.
He is always running late. Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank you, Adega, for hanging out.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Absolutely wonderful. We are going to, and good evening, lovely Sherry. Good evening. How are you? We are going to be giving away the Hobbit trilogy, the Lord of the Rings Hobbit trilogy, the regular and extended editions. And we are going to be giving away the Lord of the Rings trilogy, regular and extended editions, tomorrow night on The Late Show with Mexican Iron Man. We are going to be giving away digital codes for both of those. So make sure you guys are there. If you want those, I believe they're Voodoo codes. So if you have Voodoo, you don't have Lord of the Rings, by all means be there. We're going to be giving them away randomly to members of the channel. So any member that's in the channel that night, I'll get a list of everybody that's there, and we'll give them away. So be there or be square. That's right. Dave Bob's got it right there.
That's a heck of an opportunity. And if you guys have never seen the extended versions,
yes,
where it's at.
That's what I'm going to be doing Saturday and Sunday, is watching The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogies. So
in 4K.
In 4K with kick-ass sound. So thank you guys. Be great. Be excellent to each other. Always speak, Brenda Enter. And we'll be back next Thursday at 7 p.m. for 7 Kinds of Mischief.
You know it.
And Lady Mist says, one more try. Fun stories, Loki and Adega. Thank you, Lady Mist. Bad timing dog people. I'm sorry, Lady Mist. There are 3 stories. 3 stories if you want to go back and listen. Take care, everybody, and have a great one. And we will see you next Thursday.
Bye.
These videos are tremendous. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hammer that notification bell.